Luky and Sivan from Getter Group. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
So, oh, wow, you got that in sync. So, Luky, my first question is for you. You come from a startup background. So, what in your experience in that field have you implemented in your work as a property expert?
So, there's a verse that says, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Achievement comes from an idea. So very similarly in the startup world, there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of abstract. And so you deal with a lot of things that you can't physically touch or even use yet. And it happens to be in the Israeli market and the property market. So there's a lot of projects that haven't been built yet. So there's a lot of dealing with that also, similar to the startup world where you don't actually have a product yet. You also here, you don't really have the apartment or the home built yet. So you have to sort of understand what the house is going to look like from a piece of paper or from a computer and see what directions the sun's going to come in from and how to make things work in terms of that, all those different abstract ideas of what the property is going to end up looking like many times. What's really nice compared to the startup world is that in the startup world, there's a lot of failure that happens, either rejection when it comes to trying to get investment, or you put out a product and it doesn't work well, the users don't want to use it, things like that. Here, even in situations where the property doesn't make 1,000% sense for somebody, generally speaking, almost every time, it's a very good investment. So they've always made a good decision, especially if you're in good hands, like with us at the Getter Group. We very rarely steer you somewhere where there's trouble or there's any real type of failure. Worst comes to worst, you made some money.
Right. You made some money rather than a lot of money.
Yeah, no, not necessarily even a lot of money. So for example, I actually got into real estate when my wife and I purchased our home on the beach in Akko. And we actually lived there for a while.
It's so beautiful there.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. So when we were living there, so eventually we decided we didn't want to live there any longer, but we still have the home. And now it's gone up almost double in the last 3 years. So even if it's not necessarily the home that you're going to live in, at least you've gotten your foot in the game, and you have the advantage that it's going to keep on growing financially. So it's not necessarily always just financial. Even if it's something that you want to live in, there's also the financial benefit as a backstop.
Right, but it also requires both of your work requires some level of trust from your clients, right? Because they don't have a product to see; they have an idea to hear. So how do you kind of convey, and this is kind of a question for the both of you, convey that idea and explain how, beyond the technical, but like really convey the overall image of what they're going to receive at the end of all the work?
So, yeah. So a lot of the ways that we convey it is, first of all, there is a location, so you know where things are going to be, and you know where certain public transportation, these are type of things that you have an idea of, or in Jerusalem, you have the shuk, or here, you have different marketplaces and things like that are good places to guide a person where to decide where to purchase. And then in terms of the apartment themselves, so you see it on paper, and with experience from past buildings, we can explain to other clients how that actually ends up looking and what the options are and what can be done to make it be the most fitting for what they're looking for. Right,
but there's I think there's an interpersonal level to it, right? Sivan, how does the human connection between property expert and client translate into more customizable experiences when buying real estate?
So there's a saying in the Talmud, in the Tractate of Kiddushin, saying, Shlucho shel Adam kemoto, meaning a messenger that a person sends in order to fulfill for him something is just like the person himself, the sender himself. And that's exactly the Getter Group slogan. When the clients call the Getter Group wanting to buy a property in Eretz Israel, it's like being a tailor pretty much. We actually custom make, exactly we hear the client, hearing them out, exactly what they're looking for, their specific demands, and pretty much exactly what they want. And then we add that 20-year Getter Group experience, just like Luky was saying, and actually custom make that result for each one of our clients. For instance, let's say like a client wants a 4-bedroom. Okay, he wants a 4-bedroom in Yerushalayim. Now he's telling us how much, like in America, they love having guests and they're a big family and stuff like that. So if we're just going to try and find a regular 4-bedroom, that won't really work. We actually go and we take that all the things that they tell us, and we go and we look for a place with a bigger dining room and like an extra large sukkah porch so they can have those guests over. Also, if it's opening bank accounts for our clients, if it's doing all the paperwork for each individual, it's taking care of each individual pretty much, according to what they tell us, and combining that experience. And to summarize it in all, we're the heads, eyes, ears, hands, and feet of our clients here in Eretz Yisrael.
Right, and it's all from getting to know them and who they are and
Exactly.
what values they actually have.
Exactly.
So this is also a question for both of you. What kind of issues have you encountered that you've had to maneuver or change something in some way to provide an effective solution? Sivan, I'd love to start with you.
Okay, so in general, maneuvering can come to if it's budgets, mortgages, size of apartments, people
Right.
have specific demands. Once a company has so many years of experience, all those maneuvers actually become into solutions because we actually have encountered pretty much everything when it comes to the real estate. So, when clients come to us, let's say right now I'm taking care of a client who has a very, very small budget and really wants something in Eretz Yisrael. So, it's knowing the projects, knowing the developers, knowing exactly what we can do, the right negotiations, and doing the exact steps in order to get them their precise apartment for them.
Luky, what about you?
So I think there are a lot of different things that happen with clients, whether it's the size of the apartment, because generally speaking, when you come from outside of Israel, the apartments here are
Yeah.
are not really the size that
You
people
got to
are looking
know that
for.
you're going to be downsizing.
Or you have to know how to make it work for you. I was actually recently in a gorgeous apartment that this interior designer put together. She owned the house and she built it herself. And it was like very tight, but she made it feel like you were walking into a huge home. And it was like in a cave almost. You walk downstairs and whatever, and you would think very little light, not very difficult, but she really made it very homey, and the type of plants that she put in and the way that she organized everything. And even the kitchen, it looked very tight, but
She made it work.
It made it be. She's actually a chef herself, and so there are ways to make things actually fit to how things are for people. So that's one side. Another thing, like was mentioned before, is financial. Financial is very difficult. People don't realize when you buy in Yerushalayim or you buy in Tel Aviv, you're buying in Manhattan or you're buying in you're buying in the heart of London. That's really what's going on here now. Thank God. Unfortunately, there's not that much room, but with the room that we have, we make it work. And so, but financially, so for some people that can be difficult. And even if somebody has a big budget, there's a way to finance it to make it more worthwhile. And what's really nice about buying things in Israel is that there's a lot more flexibility than when you buy a home that you find, I don't know, somewhere in America, whatever. It's not like you have years to pay it off, generally speaking. And here, so that is a very big aspect of purchasing properties in Israel. And so that's also a way to maneuver to make sure that somebody can get what they're looking for.
So one last question for the two of you. You guys have experience in this field. For somebody who's just considering now making Aliyah, what's for each of you, one real estate trend that you've picked up on that you think is going to, change things in the future for the real estate market in Israel?
So I'll just start. And in terms of trends that are happening now in Israel, so there was always a thing in terms of 1585 or 2080, which means that you put down 15 or 20%, and then the rest is when it's done. So now there's a big trend called a developer loan. And with developer loans, so the developer basically takes out a mortgage in your name, and then you can even do something like 5 or 10% until it's built. There are a lot of pitfalls there, and it's important to have somebody on your side that looks into it, because there are ways where they can add in more fees or add in different things into that developer loan. But it's a very big trend now. It has been a trend already for the last year or two. We're seeing it ebb and flow, but that I think is a very big trend.
Be careful, have a partner. Absolutely.
It's very important.
Sivan, what about you?
So as opposed to buying a ready property, something that is already built, there's a project, as Luky was saying, one of the ways to buy properties through the developer loan. There are many deals right now, and we do see that prices are getting higher, even though we are in this specific situation right now in Israel. And we do recommend our clients to make moves now because, it's we see what's happening in the real estate market, and we see where it's going. So we do recommend, for people to make the moves now.
Prices are only going to go up.
Yeah, it's good to lock in a price right now. You have projects that are going to be ready in 4 years and 5 years, and the Getter Group does all the research to see if that's a good project. And if it's a good project, it's going to be a good thing because you lock in a price now, which in 4 or 5 years can jump sky high.
Amazing. Sivan, Luky, thank you both so much for coming here today.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
for having us.